So that's part of the reason I started the Point of Impact podcast. And, I was, the incident in particular, it was 8 months into a 12-month deployment. And this was 2011.
What year was this?
My second deployment as an EOD tech. My third deployment in total, and first time as a team leader. So the one that actually gets in the bomb suit, the highest ranking guy on the team. So I'm the one that makes that long walk. And I'd just gotten back from my 2 weeks of R&R back stateside, and still had the luggage in the back of the truck. And my team had just picked me up from the airfield, and we were heading back to our command outpost in Sia Choi in the Zaray district of the Kandahar province. And I asked one of the Turks, "What does Sia Choi mean?" He says, "I think it means cemetery." So we're in the we're in Tombstone and
cemetery.
Yeah, and it kind of felt like that.
Yeah. Afghanistan.
So, we jumped into a convoy. It's just a supply convoy. We weren't on mission or anything. We were just heading back to RAO. And they called back to us from, the lead vehicle and said we had to have something on the side of the road and wanted us to get to work on it. So I tossed the luggage off the robot and the robot out of the truck, and it got to work. We found the same thing we've been finding the entire deployment. It was pressure plate, oil jug, HME, and 9-volt battery. So the robot took care of the pressure plate, but it couldn't get the jug out of the hard pack. I wanted to get some evidence so we could set it up and try to get left of the bang on the timeline. Try to get some of these people before they could put more of them down.
Right. Trail's hot. So
I jumped out. And I was carrying. It was a standard battle rattle because we'd already had the thing dismantled. I didn't need to get into the bomb suit, and I started making my approach. About 20 meters or so from it is when my foot found the secondary device. I'm not sure how the blast. I don't know how it happened, but it almost completely missed my entire body except for my head.
Except for
a little peppering on my leg, a piece of a splinter from the pressure plate in my hand. But the blast punted me in the air by hitting me in the head. And it took both my eyes and cracked my skull. I was leaking spinal fluid right out my nose. A piece of the metal detector actually hit my jawline and ran along it and stopped just a few millimeters from my carotid artery. And about enough plastic, the doctor said, to make a Gatorade bottle cap. Or, that was just in my neck. And the lights had gone out. My bell had been really wrung. I'd landed on my knees and elbows, but I was still awake. I don't know about lucid, but I was awake. And I thought that my helmet had been pushed over my face. So the first thing I was thinking was maybe a complex ambush. And that everybody in that convoy was probably looking right at me instead of anywhere else. And my team were doing what they were supposed to be doing, is clearing a safe route to me so the medics could get me out. I'm thinking, what's happening all around me? And it either might be other devices out here. So I did what I thought was the smartest thing at the time. Of course, my bell had been rung. I got up and I started, I first did the functions check, wiggle the fingers and toes and knees and elbows. Everything seemed to be intact. So I just went to fix my my helmet just to find that it was gone. My iPro was gone, my helmet was gone, and I thought, oh man, this is really bad. My first sergeant's going to kill me for losing that. But I got up and I started walking back towards my truck so my team wouldn't have to come out to me. Of course, I had no idea where the truck was, and I don't know where I was going. They grabbed me and dragged me the rest of the way. Medics got me. Medevac chopper was in there with like 14 minutes, and I was back on my way to the airfield I just came from, and within 48 hours, I was in Bethesda,
Maryland, right? Is that what you're saying? Bethesda, Maryland. Yeah, Walter Reed, immediately getting taken care of and triaged and the whole 9 yards of like, what are we? I mean, really, you were probably talking okay. You were just assessing your situation. You knew what was happening because, oh man, I could only imagine in your brain, everything was still just going on. You were still thinking, like you said, was I lucid or was what? But when you went to touch your helmet and you just realized it's your face and your guys probably saw that, I just, first of all, war is hell. Okay. So, damn. Damn. So then what? So then you get to Bethesda, Maryland, and you're at Walter Reed, and they've got to do multiple surgeries on you. So you go through that rigmarole. Are you still dealing with surgeries today, or are you pretty much good?
It took a few, but today, I haven't really gone through any surgeries in a while. The last ones being the cochlear implants. Maybe in the future a little more reconstructive stuff, but the blast it really burnt my face. It torn it up in a couple places. It actually fused my right eye, because the blast came from my right to left, and it completely took my right eye. And it actually fused the eyelids together, so it's doing this permanent like wink thing. And then a piece of frag had run across the bridge of my nose and gashed the other eye. But they couldn't fix that. Anyways, so
nothing. You don't even have any light or anything out of that other eye. Nothing.
They tried to repair it, but it wouldn't work. So it actually deflated.
Like a grape.
So both these now prosthetics. It took a few surgeries, skin grafts to actually rebuild the eyelid enough to hold a prosthetic. But the real trouble spot, that's just really cosmetic. The real problem was the cracks in my skull. And they had to take parts of my septum and patch it up. And they did so. And I got out. I was actually out of Walter Reed pretty quickly. It was a rough time, but after they'd patched up my face, there was really nothing for them to do. It was a tough time for me. But
and a lot of soldiers and sailors come home and, don't put on such a recovery from things like this, And so I just wonder, how many folks can just, smile. I'm sure that you get this all the time, that you're inspiring. And I'm sure you hear it 3 times a day when you're out and about and anybody gets wind of anything that you had to do. It's like, you're inspiring. Okay. So we know that, that this is your platform to now use that light. Okay. And tell these others out there that, it's okay. You're awesome. I think, circumstances happened. I'm so sorry that happened. You've probably chewed on it 100 different ways. Well, if it wasn't me, it would be Bill. If it wasn't Bill, it would have been me, or however it happened, it's happened. Okay. You got over the why me's, I'm sure. And you've moved on. And we just have a huge, veteran community that listens, and, outside of the veteran civilian community. And a lot of people deal with post-traumatic stress, and they think life is hard. Aaron?
For one thing, it was the brotherhood. It was all of those other warriors up and down the halls. I was sitting there in my bed, just like you said, doing the whole why me's, what if, right? And being pissed off.
Yeah.
These cavemen with their, low-tech garbage, stuff they pulled out of the trash, that got one up on me. And I was pissed. But there were all these other warriors, and they were fighting their own battles. And they're still fighting their own battles. Walter Reed across the country. I don't have a monopoly on pain. I don't have a monopoly on pissed off. Who am I to say that mine is the worst, right? Like, you don't understand what I'm going through because,
right.
You haven't gone through what I'm going through. And that's, in a sense, true, but it's a cop-out excuse for just wallowing. And I realize that everybody is still in the fight. And I need to get in the fight, too. And like I said, I have all these responsibilities, these hats to wear. And I just can't sit there and say I quit. My family, my team members, my brothers and sisters in arms, I am responsible to them and for them, and they have co-ownership in my life. So if I ever decided to quit, I'd have to do it. I'd have to get a majority vote by committee, and I don't think I have the votes. No. So
you're not allowed to quit. See, that's the thing. There's just no quit.
Get going.
You can't quit. You got to keep going. You got to get going, because there are so many hats to wear, whether it's the father hat, the neighbor hat, your own self hat, for your own self, you may have just enough for yourself out there, and wear that hat well, and just make the best you can with yourself. Now, like you said, like Aaron said, everybody has their own struggles. Everybody gets in and gets out of the military. I've noticed that everybody donates themselves 100% able body and healthiest as possibly can be, from like sports and athletic departments of high schools, to come home to not being that.
I also needed them, not just to get me out of my funk, but I need to lean on them, for the example. I needed to find out how they were doing this. If I was going to be blind for the rest of my life, I decided then and there I was going to be the best damn blind me I could be. But how do you do that?
Right.
And first was, what kind of attitude are these warriors displaying? But it was, I went to, after Walter Reed, I went to the Blind Rehabilitation Center at the VA in Augusta, Georgia. And I started learning how to do the cane and the accessible tech and all that. But I was also, as soon as I learned how to, use the screen reader on the computer, I was on the internet searching for blind plus whatever, anything, right? And I found a couple.
Right.
I found a few names kept popping up. Like Eric Weinmeyer, his first blind person to climb Mount Everest, and Lonnie Bedwell is actually a fellow Navy veteran, but he's the first blind person to kayak the entire Grand Canyon. And I just talked to him this week.
Legit.
He's also
legit.
The only first blind person to kayak the Grand Canyon, and he just came down from climbing Mount Everest. So if these people can do that, I can get off my butt. I can do something. In fact, I sought these guys out. I went climbing with Eric. I went kayaking with Lonnie. I talked to this active duty blind ranger, Ivan Castro, who was working at Special Operations Recruiting Branch at Bragg, and this guy. I get on a call with him, and he talks about how he always makes it a point every year to run the Air Force Marathon, the Army 10 miler, and the Marine Corps Marathon. And I thought, oh, that sounds really patriotic and kind of cool. So I did the same. I registered for all three of those.
Right.
Somehow I got talked into a couple other marathons, and I was registered for 4 marathons, a 10 miler, all within the span of 4 months, and I never run anything longer than a 10K in my life. So that's kind of how I started my blind guide career. And I was getting ready for the mountains, and I was doing kayaking. I was going hunting, and I started speaking. They actually sent me to the EOD school. I was instructing for a while, and
Okay.
I was making the best of it.